Coming to you straight from the Rio Grande and beyond. Broadcasting to the four corners of the globe. So grab your seat, your coffee, or your sundowner.
Okay, everybody, here we go.
On point, as always. This is Gloves Off. Gloves Off.
Wherever you call home, we are there. In favorite places, large spaces, for many homes, we have coverage that fits the way you live. And with our home systems protection, you can cover major home appliances and more. We cover more type of homes than ever. Get the coverage you and your family deserves. For a free no obligation quote, visit us online or simply give us a call.
We're back at you in Gloves Off, and today we have a great guest, Texas State Representative Don McLaughlin. And we're going to touch base how 2026 is starting. How are we doing, sir? You doing good?
We're doing good. We're very blessed. I was just down in Laredo this last week. We came down Monday night and we're there Tuesday and Wednesday. We had 8 legislators that we were able to get. We had started. My office had started the National Security Caucus, and so we got 8 legislative members to come down to Laredo. We wanted them to see the port of Laredo. We wanted to talk to the city and the county, and then just to see how the operations go, and the infrastructure down there, the roads, and why it's so important that we need this. Because when we're in Austin, everybody still wants to consider Laredo as rural, and as you know, and I know from being down there, you're far from rural anymore. You're a growing county that just keeps growing leaps and bounds. And they got to go, and we sat down with the city of Laredo, and they gave us a deal on the port. And I did not know. I knew there was a lot of trade. I know we're the number 1 port in the nation now, or pretty much the North American hemisphere is in Webb County, Laredo, Texas, and 43% of goods that are used in the United States come through the port of Laredo.
Yes.
So something happens to the port of Laredo, guess what? It's not just Texas that feels it, it's the whole country. And so to bring them down there, for them to hear that themselves and see that, none of them had any idea. It was, how big it was. And we went to the bridge side. I would say the saddest thing of this whole deal is when you look at where we are a modern country, and but on the Mexican side, they're years ahead of us on their permits and so forth to get things done. And we're still lagging behind there, which that's our federal partners. But at least maybe, now with enough of us screaming, we can start putting some pressure on them to get things done.
Absolutely. What did most of the representatives say? What were they surprised? Were they impressed? Because you just said something that's a huge percentage that come through Laredo, and
everybody was very surprised. They did not realize that. I mean, they knew the port was huge down there, but they did not realize the volume of it, and that of what is there. I mean, $389 billion came through Laredo last year in trade through the ports. Probably 10 to $11 billion worth of tariff money came through Laredo already this year. So I mean, it's like I said, it is becoming the foothold of our nation. I mean, that trade is only going to increase, and so they were very impressed with that. The other thing that we talked about, and one of the things that we did, the county presented on the medical examiner and the need. I mean, Webb County right now serves about, I think, 14 counties handles their deal when they have to have a medical examiner. something that I learned that was shocking. It takes 14 years to become a medical examiner. And, there's not many doctors want to go do that today. So there's becoming a shortage of them. And Webb County did a really good job of showcasing that, because then those legislators started talking to their own people, and they're having the same problems back in their district too. In Uvalde, in my district, I have Webb down there, but if Uvalde has something or Pleasanton has something, we have to depend on Bear County or somebody like that. And they're not taking anybody anymore. And, the state requires it most of the time that you get a medical examiner's report in the death or whatever. And so, that was very interesting. And we also talked about the colonials and the need to fix the problem where I think they said 9 that still don't have running water or sewer down there, that we still need to look at. We tried to bring everything that we knew were problems that Webb County was facing to bring them aware of it. So that when I'm talking about it up there in Austin now, at least I'll have 8 people that have seen it, have been there, and understand it now, which will help me trying to get bills passed through the House.
Well, and your and what you all saw, what is the number one need that Webb County needs?
The biggest need you're going to need is anything. We're going to have to get the infrastructure to continue the roads and the infrastructure up there and get that done and get TxDOT on board. Problem is that there's over $1 billion worth of projects that are in the works in Laredo right now. I think there's $5.5 billion on the maps for it. But they're talking from 1 year to 10 years. Yes. Well, you don't really have that time to wait 10 years. You get that new bridge built up, and this is my argument with TxDOT. When they build that new bridge, we should already have the road there when the bridge is there, we're ready to go. I was gonna put but the attitude that I've seen out of the state and the federal partners is that, well, we'll build the bridge and then we'll build the roads, and then we're another 3 years building roads. So hopefully we'll get that addressed. But that's one of the biggest needs that I think everybody saw in talking to the city and the county, is that we need to make sure that we have the infrastructure here. We need to widen 35, because if you leave Laredo in the afternoon, you got about an hour to an hour and a half wait at that checkpoint on 35. It's backed up for miles. And so, to expand that to maybe a 4 or 6 lane road at that point to open that traffic back up. Right now you have 21,000 trucks a day crossing into Laredo, coming in and going out. That's just on the border. That doesn't count the other, and then they estimate there's another 36,000 trucks a day in Laredo to pick up loads. So
that's a lot. So I knew that there was a lot, but I didn't know that the numbers and the quantities, because they keep fluctuating. How about security? Did they talk about the wall coming down? Because I know there's been a lot of opposition against it, and some people are in favor. And
they did talk about the wall, and I think what we're gonna, we talked some about that, and the wall is coming, some form or another. They're concerned about some of the areas coming through town with the wall, and valid concerns that I would agree with. But maybe in that point, you put those buoys in the water like they did at Eagle Pass that keeps the traffic down. We went with Border Patrol one morning. We went to the river with Border Patrol and saw where they launched their boats and showed us where their biggest traffic area was. They told us that morning where they had a group that came off and got in a car, and they had a pursuit, down there and that. So we got to see that, and they got to see firsthand what these guys have to deal with. And I don't think they realized just how close you have subdivisions that butt right up to the river, and it's a problem with people coming across there. And then, you got your outlet mall down there with their biggest traffic deal. And they said it seems like every time there's a big event there, that's when we get a high crossing, because they run over and try to blend in with the crowd. So it was very eye-opening on that. But the border wall, we talked to some of the council members, and they're just dead set against it. And I said, well, instead of being dead set, maybe go to the table. Sit down at the table and negotiate and see what can come out of that. They're supposed to send me a sheet on that of their concerns and that. And I told them I would be happy to make calls, and try to facilitate a meeting or whatever we need to do to alleviate everybody's fears or concerns or whatever. But I mean, I think but there's a lot of people that are in favor of the wall too. I think for it.
Laredo, it seems to be 60-40, or there's a lot of people that are for it and there's a lot of people that are against it. And I understand, because what happened, Laredo's in a different situation because you have a lot of families in Laredo that cross frontiers, right? They're from both sides of the river. And I think that's number one priority. And a lot of landowners also do not want to have fun. And I get it. I understand that. And but there's something that needs to be that has to be done.
Well, we got to get it secure one way or the other because I mean, as with this administration, the trafficking is down tremendously. The amount of illegal immigrants, and I want to go on record again. I'm not against immigration. There's a right way to come across the border and there's a wrong way. And if you come way, I'm all for it. I mean, our country was built with immigrants in that. Of course, I also think we need to look at a deal where we give work visas to people coming across because we need the labor and we need the help and so forth. One of the concerns that we did hear from the county and the city and the port is the truck driving rule where you have to speak English now. Well, I mean, you got truck drivers that have been making that run every day from Mexico to the holding yard in Laredo and turn around and going right back to Mexico. And some of those guys don't speak English, but they're not on the road. So, I mean, to me, there ought to be a waiver in my opinion, there ought to be a waiver there for those drivers in that respect. Now, once you leave Laredo and that, I think you should be proficient in the English language just because of road signs and different things. But again, these are things that I think that if we can get people to the table and all sit down and have a conversation, these are things that we can get hashed out. As you know, and we both know, when you go to the table, none of us are going to get 100% of what we want, but we can come away from there a lot of times with a compromise that works for both groups.
Sometimes a compromise is a better idea than what people had. So, people need to sit down and start talking about it instead of bickering on the sides. They're not coming down to discuss and try to come out with a solution for it. And I think that, that's what's needed. I've always been thinking Laredo has always been a great port. I don't know, how come we don't have an army base here? How come we don't have something here that will kind of ease the tension down a little bit more?
I don't know. But I mean, it would make sense with as much infrastructure as there, because like I said, something happens in that area, something happens to those bridges in that you cripple this country.
Yes.
I was amazed to see how much comes across Laredo that actually goes out to California. But they showed us on the map. I mean, they had a map. I've asked for a copy of this presentation. They're supposed to get it at my office, but they took Laredo, Texas, and they showed a map where in red where all this stuff is going. It's going all the way up into the northeast, all the way to the northwest, out to the west coast, and over to the east coast. It was pretty amazing. And of course, I understand that because I have a yard. I have a pipe yard in Abilene, Kansas. And we load anywhere from 3 to 5 trucks a day out of that yard. And you'd be surprised how many people that come into that yard that had picked a load up in Laredo, Texas, and we're delivering it up into the Midwest, and we're looking for a load going somewhere else out of there. So it's huge. But I don't know. That's a good question. Why we don't have a stronger military presence down
there? Tensions up and down on the river.
Yeah.
And not only that, the presence will be there. The presence that can even help the Border Patrol.
Yeah, no, it would be a big help. And of course, we talked to some of the council members, and we went on the road down by the mall, and then we went out to the north along the river there where they'd cleared the land. And to me, it really made it look good when they just got through clearing it. And that when grass comes back and grows there, that's going to be a beautiful area along that river. It was beautiful. I laughed because they told us, don't think you're not being observed right now from across the border with all of us here in these cars and that standing here said, I can tell you right now that they're trying to figure out who you are and what you're doing down here.
Absolutely. Yeah, when you go down there, it's that way. You tell that there's people across there just paying attention to everything that happens on the side.
Yeah.
And there's some areas on the river that you can literally walk across.
Yeah, that's what they said. And they told us on their boats and that, which, you think the river being deal, but depending on how much water is being released out of Amstead, some places that river's not 2 foot deep.
Right.
Yeah.
Yep. Yep. It's something that people do not understand, because if the water's not coming in from Amistad, we're not having too much water on the river. It kind of dries up.
Yeah.
I've always said, how come we don't have a dam of some sort?
I don't know why they hadn't done that either. I get, either up above you. I don't know if you could do it down below you because it might flood too much of your area. But I'm like you. I don't know why we hadn't put some dams on that river like you did at Amistad. And of course, you have the one at Falcon too, but still to hold some of that water as you need it.
Absolutely. Because at one of the treaties, they say that we're supposed to have three. And I don't know why we never build one here in Webb County.
Yeah, I don't know why either, because one of the biggest concerns that we also hear is, Mexico not releasing the amount of water they're supposed to release to the U.S. It's a constant battle every year, which affects all farmers in the area and so forth. And Mexico's got reservoirs that are full of water that they're holding that rightfully should come into the Rio Grande and come down. That water is another issue that we talked about with the city and the county. The need for water for Laredo, the growing need for water there and that. And of course, like I told one of the council members, I said, have you ever been out to El Paso? They've got the largest desalination plant in the world for landlocked, not on the ocean. They desalinate all that brine water in that. And of course, everybody always says, well, yeah, but we create too much salt when we do it. That's it. Last time I looked, every northern country still has to salt their roads every winter. So there ought to be a market there for that too somehow. I mean, it's just thinking outside the box.
Yes, that's a good idea because it's true. Every winter, in some places, you have to salt the roads.
Yeah.
And in most of the north, I spoke to a friend of mine up in Buffalo, and he says it's.
Oh, yeah. Well, in my yard in Kansas Friday, it was -5 degrees with wind and ice. So I mean, it gets pretty cold up there. It's pretty cold. From what I understand, we may get a little taste of that this weekend before it's over with.
Well, they say it's going to drop, and they say it's going to drop a little bit. That's what's going to happen. But I was going to ask you, what's the next step? What's the next plans for what you all are going to do with this caucus that you all saw?
Well, our deal is to start looking at the issues that we think that are going to affect, whatever affects our national security is going to affect Texas in a big way. We're a big military state. We're a big state. We're our trade with Texas, we're the 8th largest economy in the world, and coming out of Texas. So our deal is to look at the issues that could be problems in that deal that we're not showing up. I mean, the screwworm, to give you a deal, they're not looking at it as a national security issue. But if you bring that screwworm, if it gets across the border out of Mexico into the United States, that's a $40 billion hit from the Texas economy. That will be astronomical. It's not just cattle anymore. I mean, Texas is a big hunting state, a lot of wildlife, a lot of exotics. None of those are exempt from that screwworm. And when you look at Mexico, it's 140 miles from the U.S. border now. There's been, I think, 76 deaths in Mexico of humans from screwworm that we know of, and umpteen cases. And to me, that poses a national security issue to our country. And they allotted the money for a plant to grow these flies to combat the screwworm. But we did it in last June, and we haven't broke ground yet. And here it is, January. I mean,
so it's in the works, right?
Yeah. But I mean, it's just if we would turn that over to private industry, we probably already have the plant built up and running.
Private industry would work a lot faster than a government manufacturing plant.
Yeah. Well, you'll have somebody ask me, well, how are things going? I said, in Austin, everything. I said, well, everything's going great right now. And they said, what do you mean everything's going? How do you figure? I said, because we're not in session. We can't screw anything up. But no, like I said, it's very interesting. Like I said, I think this caucus will grow. I mean, we invited both Republicans and Democrats. Richard Raymond was there with us the whole time. We didn't get any other Democrats that wanted to come down, which I think would have been a very eye-opening to what they would have seen. And we're going to continue to push that to try to get more people involved. National security doesn't care if you're a Republican or a Democrat. I mean, it doesn't. And we need to see the challenges that we're facing as a country and as people, not as parties.
You're correct. Security doesn't prejudice if you're a Republican or Democrat.
No, it doesn't. It really doesn't. And my biggest fear as the cartel, the human trafficking part was a very big business in the cartel. You have a very strong cartel across the border, what we were told more than once, across the border there in Nuevo Laredo. And so you didn't see as much human traffic in that, and they keep a strong hand on it in that. But also if the money's, and I know if the money's right, they'll cross anybody or anything, including a dirty bomb or terrorist or whatever, to get across that border if the money's right. And that's a big concern for all of us.
And that to me it's something that what resonates always about security and our Border Patrol and Homeland Security. They do an excellent job, but it always comes down to that incident with the 51 individuals that were found in the trailer up in San Antonio that passed the border in 2 different checkpoints. Something has to be done, because I don't know if they were in cahoots or not in cahoots. We can speculate, but I think that we have to start changing them around Texas, around the from here to California and vice versa. And
we do, and I agree with you. If we, they can X-ray trucks now coming across the border.
Yes.
They cost $1 million or $2 million a unit, but if you're going to have a checkpoint as far out as you do it outside of Laredo, then those trucks go back through that X-ray deal. You'd have seen those human bodies in that trailer. I mean, we had the same thing here in Uvalde, not 51, but we had 28 that were locked in a boxcar on the train, and one of them had a cell phone. I think 4 died in that deal, or 7 died, and the rest ended up. We had 14 Air Life helicopters landing on the side of the road in between Canepa and Sabinal, Texas, hauling people to hospitals. It was just So I mean, those are things that we need to look at. I mean, as a modern country we are, that we should be the amount of money that we waste. We could put these X-ray units and different things along these deals, and it's just a matter of driving through them. And then a guy can look at it on the screen, and then you have a picture of the truck and everything. So if you see something in there and you don't catch it for 5 minutes, well, you can catch it down the road. You can radio ahead or whatever. So I mean, we've got to start looking at all the options that are available to us.
Yes, and you're correct. And we need to start using it. And we have the money to supply it. We just need to do it.
We do. We need it. We do. Yeah. And so it was. But like I said, I think it was a true eye-opening for the legislators that were down there to actually see it firsthand, to actually go to the port and see where the trucks are crossing, and see the X-rays where they're X-raying the trucks, to see where they a secondary search area where they have a truck that's questionable and they're bringing it over there to go farther and search the cargo or whatever, to see the bridge downtown that's got the foot traffic on it, and that it was pretty eye-opening for them. They were, every one of them was like, man, we're so glad we came to this. That we had no idea. We just, I mean, they went away excited.
That's great. That's wonderful. Well, thank you for doing that great job, because it hasn't been done before, and you came in here and you changed it, and you changed the path, and I think now people are going to start looking towards Laredo in a different eye.
Well, and this didn't go. We plan to work out and try to get another group down here toward the summer or something, or toward in the spring or early fall next year, to get another group, an even bigger group of more people, so they can see firsthand. And then we can take them around and show them where the bottlenecks are, where we need to get TxDOT on board. I mean, the 2 ports told us between the World Trade Bridge and the Columbia Bridge, there's 19 miles of Old Mines Road. that's in such dire straits to get repaired, which would take about $200 million to repair it. You know, you and I both know we waste $200 million as a federal government and a state government, but that should be a priority. When we get our $11 billion back from the government in that big, beautiful bill that he passed, that $11 billion that Texas is going to be reimbursed, we ought to block 200 million out of there and fix that road for the truck traffic. That would alleviate some of the problems you have in Laredo too.
Absolutely. That's great thinking. Thank you for doing that.
Yes, sir.
And well, so you're looking at latter part of spring, early part of summer?
That's what I'm hoping to get another group down there. We'll let everybody get through the primaries and kind of get their feet underneath them, and then see if we can't get another group to come down there and see it and see it firsthand and see more. And like I said, I'd love for it to be a bipartisan deal, because I don't look at things as a Republican thing or a Democrat deal. I look at what's going to affect all of us in everything that I do.
And that's the way it should be. And that's the way it should be.
It should. It should. It shouldn't be my way or the highway on either side.
Yes, I agree. Well, I want to thank you for keeping us abreast and for you to continue doing a great job. And we're running out of time, sir. And once more, thank you. And to everybody out there, you all stay safe, be safe, and God bless you all.
God bless you all, and thank you for the opportunity. I appreciate it, Professor. You have a good day.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Yeah.
Have you ever wondered about what happens in a martial arts studio? Well, you start right away by setting goals, building determination, gaining focus, building skills, all while becoming more fit, gaining confidence, and learning self-defense. Buitron Academy is a school where attitude meets aptitude. So give us a call at 956-401-4868.